Water pollution. Comprising over 70% of the Earth's surface, water is undoubtedly the most precious natural resource that exists on our planet. Without the seemingly invaluable compound comprised of hydrogen and oxygen, life on Earth would be non-existent. It is essential for everything on our planet to grow and prosper. Although we humans recognize this fact, we disregard it by polluting our rivers, lakes, and oceans. Subsequently, we are slowly but surely harming our planet to the point where organisms are dying at a very alarming rate. In addition to innocent organisms dying off, our drinking water has become greatly affected as it is our ability to use water recreational purposes. In order to combat water pollution, we must understand the problems and become part of a solution. Sources of water pollutants. Water pollutants result from many human activities. Pollutants from industrial sources may pour out from the outfall pipes of factories or may leak from pipelines and underground storage tanks. Polluted water may flow from mines where the water has leached through mineral-rich rocks or has been contaminated by the chemicals used in processing the ores. Cities and other residential communities contribute mostly sewage, with traces of household chemicals mixed in. Sometimes industries discharge pollutants into sewers, increasing the variety of pollutants in municipal areas. Pollutants from such agricultural sources as farms, pastures, feedlots, and ranches contribute animal wastes, agricultural chemicals, and sediment from erosion. The oceans, vast as they are not invulnerable to pollution. Pollutants reach the sea from adjacent shorelines, from ships, and from offshore oil platforms. Sewage and food waste discarded from ships on the open sea do little harm, but plastics thrown overboard can kill birds or marine animals by entangling them, chocking them, or blocking their digestive tracts if swallowed. Oil spills often occur through accidents, such as the wrecks of the tanker Amoco Cadiz off the French coast in 1978 and the Exxon Valdez in Alaska in 1992. Routine and deliberate discharges, when tanks are flushed out with seawater, also add a lot of oil to the oceans. Offshore oil platforms also produce spills. The second largest oil spill on record was in the Gulf of Mexico in 1979 when wells spilled 530 million liters, 140 million gallons. An oil spill has its worst effects when the oil slick encounters a shoreline. Oil in coastal waters kills tide pools and harms birds and marine mammals by causing feathers and fur to lose their natural waterproof quality, which causes the animals to drown or die of cold. Additionally, these animals can become sick or poisoned when they swallow the oil while preening, grooming their feathers or fur. Pollution may begin as water moves through the air, if the air is polluted. Soil erosion adds silt as a pollutant. The use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, or other materials on watershed lands is an additional factor contributing to water pollution. The runoff from septic tanks and the outflow of ores from livestock feedlots along the watershed are sources of organic pollutants. Industries located along waterways downstream contribute a number of chemical pollutants, some of which are toxic if present in any concentration. Finally, cities and towns contribute their loads of sewage and other urban wastes. Thus, a community far upstream in a watershed may receive relatively clean water, whereas one farther downstream receives a partly diluted mix of urban, industrial, and rural wastes. The cost of cleaning and purifying this water for community use may be high, and the process may be only partially effective. To add to the problem, the cities and towns in the lower, or downstream, regions of the river basin contribute additional wastes that flow into estuaries, creating new pollution problems. There are various effects of water pollution. Spread of disease. Drinking polluted water can cause cholera or typhoid infections, along with diarrhea. See Figure 7. Affects body organs. The consumption of highly contaminated water can cause injury to the heart and kidneys. Harm food chain. Toxins within water can harm aquatic organisms, thus breaking a link in the food chain. Causes algae in water. Urea, animal manure and vegetable peelings are food for algae. Algae grow according to how much waste is in a water source. Bacteria feed off the algae, decreasing the amount of oxygen in the water. The decreased oxygen causes harm to other organisms living in the water. Flooding. The erosion of soil into waterways causes flooding, especially with heavy rainfall. The effects of water pollution are not always immediate. They are not always seen at the point of contamination. They are sometimes never known by the person responsible for the pollution. However, water pollution has a huge impact on our lives. With knowledge, consideration and preparation, water pollution can be decreased. It doesn't take much effort, just a little thought. Additional form of water pollution. Three last forms of water pollution exist in the forms of petroleum, radioactive substances, and heat. Petroleum often pollutes water bodies in the form of oil, resulting from oil spills. The previously mentioned Exxon Valdez in an example of this type of water pollution. These large-scale accidental discharges of petroleum are an important cause of pollution along shorelines. Besides tankers, offshore drilling operations contribute a large share of pollution. One estimate is that 1 ton of oil is spilled for every million tons of oil transported. This is equal to about 0.0001%. Radioactive substances are produced in the form of wasted from nuclear power plants, and from the industrial, medical, and scientific use of radioactive materials. Specific forms of waste are uranium and thorium mining and refining. The last form of water pollution is heat. Heat is a pollutant because increased temperatures result in the deaths of many aquatic organisms. These decreases in temperature are caused when a discharge of cooling water by factories and power plants occurs. How can we stop water pollution? The problems associated with water pollution have the capabilities to disrupt life on our planet to great extent. Congress has passed laws to try to combat water pollution, thus acknowledging the fact that water pollution is, indeed, a serious issue. But the government alone cannot solve the entire problem. It is ultimately up to us, to be informed, responsible and involved when it comes to the problems we face with our water. As we head into the 21st century, awareness and education will most assuredly continue to be the two most important ways to prevent water pollution. If these measures are not taken and water pollution continues, life on Earth will severely. Global environmental collapse is not inevitable. If the sources of water pollution are not controlled, this basic necessity will eventually become a rare commodity only a few can afford to have. Life is ultimately about choices, and so is pollution. We can live with sewage-strewn beaches, dead rivers, and fish that are too poisonous to eat. Or we can work together to keep the environment clean so the plants, animals, and people who depend on it remain healthy. We can take individual action to help reduce water pollution, for example, by using environmentally friendly detergents, not pouring oil down drains, reducing pesticides, and so on. We can take community action too, by helping out on beach cleans or litter picks to keep our rivers and seas that little bit cleaner. And we can take action as countries and continents to pass laws that will make pollution harder and the world less polluted. Most environmental experts agree that the best way to tackle pollution is through something called the polluter pays principle. This means that whoever causes pollution should have to pay to clean up, one way or another. Working together, we can make pollution less of a problem, and the world a better place.